I guess. Yep, it says recording has started. There we go. So before I get started, I also want to introduce, we call her Allie, but you'll see Alexandra Malaspina on the call. So she's going to help me with the demo today. So Allie is part of the global ACM TIS organization. So she's the head of that group. And I don't have access to the Service Cloud the way she does. So I have reporting access. So I'm not really an agent who can answer phone calls, but she can. And so I knew that you guys wanted to see that functionality. So she has joined me. And then later I will begin and I will show you a lot of data and what it looks like. And then after that, we will actually show you cases happening where I will call in and she will show you what happens and she will answer the call. So just wanted you to know who this new person was that's joining us. Okay, so first I'm going to show you the Service Cloud, which I think you all know is Salesforce.com combined with Genesys call telephony system. And so this is one view of it. You can see I'm logged in. We all log in with using single sign-on, using our Hinkle ID, like we do with most tools now. And so hold on, I took some notes because I want to make sure I show you everything that is important. So I'm going to pull my notes up. So there are different objects. One thing you'll see here is it says Hinkle TIS. So I think I mentioned that customer service is migrating to the Service Cloud as well. So all of the Asia Pacific customer teams, except for China, will be going live on the Service Cloud on April 24th of this year. And so when they are logged in, it says Hinkle CS up here instead of Hinkle TIS, and they have different views and different case views because a lot of their cases are related to orders and SAP alerts and all of that. So we refer to the TIS as everything related to like technical support or level 1 inquiry support. So the first thing I'll show you is there are lots of different types of objects that an agent would work with. So there are cases, and cases come in via different channels. There are leads that we create. There are service leads that we create that we send to ACE. There's voice of customer, so that after certain interactions, a survey is sent out and it asks the customer how were they satisfied with the service. And I'll show you examples of all of these. There are accounts, there are contacts. So I'm going to start with cases. So whatever you choose, you can also create your own views. So every person who works in the Service Cloud can create their own views that make it easier for them to work. So you can see I've created views because I have global access where I can either filter by North America, I can filter by web cases, I can filter by level 1. And so if I select one, then my view changes. And I apologize because about an hour ago, when I started looking at this, it became super slow. And so I said, of course, Europe's pushing something through right when I'm going to do a demo. But normally it's not this slow. So hold on one second. Oh, and I think I picked a view that had a lot of cases in it. I probably shouldn't have picked that one. Let me pick a different one. So you can see, well, maybe not. Allie, going any faster for you?
Yeah, I was going to say, let me see if I can get it pulled up with one of my views that I have. I can show you a view. Do you want me to take over?
If you want. I don't know why. Oh, wait, never mind.
Nope,
It came up.
it.
So
Okay.
right in this view, I'm looking at, you can see all the cases. I can see what the status of them is. I can see which ones are closed, when they came in, what the service level is, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, which channel it came from, who it's assigned to. You can see most of these are closed because, right, it's the end of the day in the US, so they've closed a lot of their cases. And this is North America. I can see which web form it came from. So there's a lot of information you can see just at the, at the view level, and you can create your own views. So when it comes to cases, I wanted to show you different kind of cases. So I'm going to open a few that I had saved as kind of favorites. So I'm going to show you this case because I want to show you all what a case looks like. So this is a case that came in. You can see over to the left, this is kind of the details of the case. I can see that this came in, it is closed. It was a product suggestion. It came from the web. If I look here, I can see all of the web form data that was filled in. They filled out a technical support web form, and they provided all of this information, their name, their last name. This all came from the web form. So all of the middle shows you kind of the entire history of the case. So I can see that the case came in, that it was created, that the case that she updated, she accepted it, and she took the status of it and accepted it. And then I can see that Gabby, I think I've mentioned that it's integrated to Outlook. So Gabby was the agent that was working on this. She then sent an email to the aerospace team here in North America and said, can you please assist with the below question regarding 9359.3. So if we had looked here, she can see all of the questions that the customer was asking. I'm in search of an accelerated cure information. So she contacted the aerospace team, but then she also sent an email to the inquirer and said, hello, I'm letting you know, I've reviewed your inquiry. I've reached out to the technical expert to obtain the most precise and detailed answers. Because in this case, it was a level 1 agent and she needed some technical support. So she reached out to the technical support team, all keeping track of, everything is right here within the case, the date that it went out. And then we can see that the aerospace team actually replied back to the customer, Seth, Loctite EA, they provided the information. Here's the information that the customer asked for. They closed the case. The case was reopened because the customer then emailed us back. So anytime the customer replies back to an email about this case, it opens the case back up and it shows back up in the agent's queue, just in case the customer had another question. And in this case, he was just saying, perfect, this is exactly what I was looking for. The case was closed. You can see that we can also see in the history, we can see exactly everything that happened with this case, when it came in, who it was assigned to, all of the values, all of this is traceable and trackable. And we can also look at the service level. So over to the right in every case, we are tracking when it was our first response time, what was the service level target. And so because this was a technical support case, we allow 16 business hours because sometimes it takes us a little bit longer to work with the applications engineers or the technical experts to get an answer. And so the goal was to get the answer within 16 hours. In this case, they did an excellent job. Both the L1 agent forwarded it to the technical expert in the AMI team. They responded back and it was fully closed within 1 hour and 28 minutes. Kitty, you have a question?
Yes, Audra. So for the service levels, is that standardized across the world for Henkel? So every
It,
country using the same standard?
yeah, it is so far. We did that with Western Europe and with everywhere we've launched. And so what we did is it's based on the type of request. So if it's technical support, then we're definitely giving longer time because we know that it takes longer to sometimes get the answers. If it's more of just a general inquiry, where they're just asking for a TDS, then it's half that time. It's 8 hours.
Yeah.
So, and
So
those are kind of the standards. When you look at the standards for contact centers, that's kind of the standard that you try to hit.
okay. All right. So by default, they all have the same service level
They
target.
they do. They do.
Okay.
And I'll show you a little bit about the reporting and stuff for that in a little bit.
Yeah.
So in activity, we can see all of the emails. If there were files attached, you would see the files. And if there was voice of customer, you would see that here. So I'm going to close this case and I'm going to show you, because that was just an example where, you know, level 1 had to pull in level 2. And it was a web case. Now I'm going to pull in an email case for you and show you what an email case looks like. So in this case, right, it's coming in via email. We have the full history, all of the full email within the body. It's not as clean and nice as the web forms, because the web forms has all of the data already filtered in different fields, first name, last name. With the web form, you have to pull and search through the you know, the web, the email to find all of that. But the same concept is there, so that, you know, you can see that the case was started. This is an automatic reply that was sent out. Your request has been received by Hinkle. A case number with this number has been created for your reference. So that's kind of an automatic thing that the customer gets first. And then you can see here that they reached out to tech services and said, you know, please advise if you can help. I have a customer requesting the following. In this case, it went to Kathy Scoville. She is a level 2 agent. She took it, she answered the question, the 39971, but you can see the whole history, right? TDS is attached, you know, everything attached right within. Just like always, you can see the history, you can see the service levels, and you can see here she did all that within 36 minutes, and the case is closed. I'll show you an example of a phone case that also got turned into a lead. 614, yep. So this, when we look at it, it's closed. Umir was the agent who handled it. It was a phone case. And so with the phone cases, right, there's no email, there's no information. It's him on the phone. And Allie's going to show you when I'm going to call her later, and she's going to show you how the phone cases work. But if we look at how he handled this, he then replied back to the customer. He sent an email, was nice talking to you. He asked them if they could fill out a questionnaire because he was trying to get more information about the application needs. And in this case, the customer replied back, thank you for the talk, greatly appreciate your time. I attached the filled out questionnaire. In the end, you know, they went back and forth a little bit, and then Umir created a lead. And he also emailed the inside sales rep who will be handling the lead. And so he said, hi, Alexis, that he gave her as much information as he could. And then he also created a lead. And I'll show you some leads in just a little bit. So I'm just going to continue on with this. So in this case, in this case, the customer came back even after he created the lead and said, hey, one quick alteration. So he thought of something else. So every time the customer replies back, it reopens the case and it gives the agent the opportunity to reply to further handle. But everything happens and is maintained all within the case. And so then I'll show you a very simple case, which is a typical, I'd say, L1 case, level 1 case, where it comes in this case, it was a web form, it was product info. They were actually looking for a safety data sheet. And so in this case, you know, she reached out right away. Thank you for your inquiry. I've attached the SDS. And then the case was closed. So, you know, that was an easy case. So this is kind of how you handle the cases. Kitty? Yeah.
Yeah. So just wonder for level 1 cases, when we close them, where are the information stored in terms of the customer? If this case, I guess we have customer name, customer email address, their company, et cetera, et cetera. So when we close that case off without passing that into ACE,
Yeah, we're not allowed to pass that information into ACE because per data privacy laws, they fill out the web form or they contact us. We're supposed to answer their request only and not really share the data. But if we need further help, we ask them, you know, hey, it seems like you have an application that would be a great application that you could work with a sales rep. And then, we do let them know, and we then hand it off to ACE then. So it's kind of like we talked to the legal team and the data privacy team, and it's like it's the second phase of managing their request. So,
Yeah.
if
So yeah.
yeah,
So if we don't pass them to any other people or create a case or lead in ACE, and the information will just be stored in this
in here in the
platform.
Service Cloud. Yep.
Oh, okay. Do they get cleared or deleted after 12
So
months or something?
that's funny that you ask, and I'll show you a thing in a little bit. So we have it's called Own Data, where we can, after 24 months, I think it's 2 years, if there's no activity on a case, it gets archived, but we can still pull the data. So for legal reasons, because we're providing information that, we might need to know what we told them even 5 years later. So I think we are maintaining the data for 5 years.
Okay.
So, but the nice thing about the Service Cloud, and I wanted to show you this, is the search functionality. So I know, for example, Mr. Takasan, I think the inside sales team is using Genesis Pure Cloud, and Allie's team actually used Genesis Pure Cloud before. So she knows all about Genesis Pure Cloud. The nice thing about Salesforce is the search functionality. So in this case, if someone contacts you, and it's an email, then you can, with the email, you can look up and see all the cases that this contact has. Here's the contact that you were saying, Kitty. He works for Electric Boat, and so then you can actually see, very easily find all of the emails that have happened. It's just a very, very nice search functionality, and we did not have that in Pure Cloud. You can even just start typing, like Daryl Small is a Hinkle sales rep. So if I just start looking for Daryl Small, I can see that he has created 10 cases. And I can easily look up all of the cases and the history of them, at least in the last 2 years. So now I'm going to jump to leads, because I know that's something that we're all interested in. And so when we think about leads, so as you saw in one case, he created a service lead. I think it was Umair who created it. And so again, this is an object. I can look at all the leads. There's different views. I can look at all open leads. There's many different, and then I can create the views and what I want to see. You can see one of the things that we do see from leads is the status back from ACE. So Allie will show you a little bit later that an agent can create a service lead, the data automatically gets sent to ACE, and then we are getting the status back from ACE. And so I'm going to show you just a few quick leads. So I'll show you John Meek. And in this case, right, this was a lead. We can see that this one was converted. We can see that it came from this case number. We can open the case. We can actually see the full history of the case, and everything that happened with the case. But what's really nice is you can also see what is passed along to and included in ACE. So when we create a lead, all of the email history, most of the case data that is needed is all passed along so that the sales rep who is getting the lead sees the full history. They see every email, everything, the full exchange. And so it makes it much easier for the sales rep when they actually get the lead, because they can see everything that happened. So in this case, right, this one was one that was converted. I have another lead that Frederick, that this one's still open, and unfortunately this happens sometimes, where we submit a lead and we've informed the inside sales rep, but it just hasn't moved. So we know they're busy. Sometimes we can go into ACE and we look at and see who the inside sales rep is, and we say, hey, just want to make sure you're still aware of this. But we also, one of the things I wanted to show you is, for every one of them, we also inform the customer I sent this to my inside sales team for further support. And if the customer emails us back, we get that information. It opens the case again and we follow up. So, in this case, I think this was a case that was a email that came in, and there was an email exchange between Bree. This one, if you look, it actually came from No Reply website. So this was a web form filled out on one of our corporate CorpCom websites, and then it got sent to our email box and got routed to the team, and then they processed it. And so then I have one more lead, Eric Wilson, and I just kind of wanted to show you an example. This one was marked as renurture. And so with the new processes in ACE, we submit service leads, marketing submits marketing leads, and the first thing that has to happen is it gets assigned, and then they have to accept the lead. And then after that, they can decide what they want to do with it, right? So there's different phases. They can decline it. They can either accept it or decline it. And then if they accept it, then they start to qualify it. And then they can either say, okay, yeah, once I got into more information, I found out that they're not quite ready. So one of the things they can do is mark it as renurture, or they can convert it. And so, but again, like usual, right, here's the full history that we pass along. And it's funny because, okay, here's Eric Wilson from Zainair. I'm going to kind of use him in a little bit to show you some other things. So that is leads. Now I want to show you a little bit about the voice of customer. So voice of customer after service interactions, and this is something that just went live towards the end of last year. So we have certain criteria that we set where we said, yes, we would like to send a survey to the customer afterwards to ask them, were they satisfied? And so in this case, right, here is a case where we did get voice of customer from this particular customer. It went to Mgmt. Mgmt is our global voice of customer platform. In this case, we can see that the customer gave us a 5. That's the highest score. They were very satisfied. And a 10, they would promote us. And we could go back, we can open the case, we can look at the case. One of the things that we can also see is it's interesting that we did not hit the service level on this one, right? We were a little bit late in getting the service level. However, the customer was very satisfied because it took us a little bit of time. There was some exchange going back and forth, but in the end, we answered their question. And so, we have to be cautious of the fact that, and that's one of the reasons why with service levels, and I'll show you the report in a little bit, we know we're never going to be 100% on service levels, and no contact center ever is 100% on service levels. The goal is to try to hit your service levels to be at around 90%, if you can. And so,
can I add something about the service
yep.
level really quick? So one of the things that we always tell our teams that are currently working in the Service Cloud about the service level is that it's really not so much meant as like a metric to measure agent performance. It's more so to look at the overall interaction. So if the customer takes a long time to reply, that can put us over the service level target, but we want to take a look at why that's happening and see if we can maybe provide more information in our initial response to the customer so that there's less back and forth and just generally get an idea of how we can lower that service level time.
Yep, absolutely. And so one of the things you can see in this case, we got a 5, right? If we go and look at the contact, it's tied to the case, that 5, right? So now I can see the VOC. If we go look at Joe, the contact, we can also, or actually I should have looked at the account. If we go look at the account, Longhorn. So I now wanted to show you accounts in a little bit. So we can see Longhorn. This is a non-SAP account. We can see all of the contacts that have been associated with this. In this case, it's just Jonathan. And we can see the average CSAT and the average NPS. And in this case, there was only one voice of customer. And so I will show you another voice of customer. Because I also wanted to show you, like Ali said, even with voice of customer and service level, we're not trying to look at and use this to look at agent performance, or we use this to try to improve our processes. And so I didn't want to just show you all cases where we got a great score. So here we got a neutral and, a neutral again. And so if we go back and we look at, the case, we can kind of start to see, okay, maybe why, what took so long? Is that the reason? But if we go back and look at the voice of customer, we can also go into the survey details. So we can click on survey details, and now it's going to open the tool called Mgmt, which is the voice of customer tool. And it's going to show us the score, but we can also see that one of the questions he's asked is, has your query been resolved? And in this case, he said no. So he still didn't have the answer at the point when he got the survey. And so at that point, that's probably why he gave us a neutral. And so that's, things that we're trying to look at and trying to think about. How can we improve the processes? So Ali was mentioning the answer pending. One of the things we were doing was we were closing the cases and then letting them reopen. Now, what we've started to do, if we go back and look at cases, within the case, we have where there's a status, and one of the statuses can be answer pending. And of course, I've changed my views and this might take forever. But what I want to show you is with a level 1 agent or even a TIS agent, if it's someone who needs to wait on, look at here, application engineer. Maybe it's a technical call discussion that they need to have with the application engineer. They can put it in answer pending mode, so you can see the status. It's in answer pending, and when they do, they say who they're waiting on, the application engineer. And we're trying to use that data to look for where is it that we have problems. Is it when we're waiting on application engineers? Are there certain application engineers that maybe we need to set up a regular call with them, or maybe we need to improve the process? Okay, and now I'm going to show you, that's enough of voice of customer, lead, and case. Now I'm going to show you accounts, and because you had asked about like the data. Because we're using, because Salesforce is also using this, we are integrated to SAP. So every SAP account and buying account is also in the Service Cloud. So you can see here where it says sales area versus non-SAP. So if it's sales area, and in the case of the US, they put the sales area, I'm guessing Asia would have sales areas as well. That's one of the ways that you can tell if it's ACM or AMI. And you can kind of look at and see everything that you might want to see. So if we look at Creighton, for example, we can see that it's a G5 account. Sorry. We can see the VOC. Like, we've got an average CSAT of 4.0 and an average NPS of 9. We have 116 voice of customers from this that have been sent. But if you look, only one has been answered. So, and if you look at these, they all say error. So one of the things we've done is we don't want to upset the same customer, the same contacts, by sending them the survey over and over and over again. And so the tool Mgmt has a counter, and it says, if you have emailed this contact and they have replied to a survey, do not contact them again for the next 90 days. And so the Service Cloud will send this to Mgmt to say you can trigger it if it meets the criteria. But in this case, there was an error. It didn't meet the criteria because they've already given us voice of customer. But at the account level, you can see all of the contacts. And I just wanted you to also see that our Hinkle sales reps, here's the dedicated service agent, the customer service agent, and the sales reps are all loaded from SAP for the account. So you can see the contacts, you can see all of the cases, you can see all of the orders, a customer service can at least. So this is truly meant to be the one place where you can see everything, all the service related activities for, that are happening at an account. And I mentioned Eric Wilson. If we look at Zainair, which had Eric Wilson before, right? It's a non-SAP account. So this is not a buying account. It's probably, it's an ACM account that's probably buying through a distributor. And we've had 2 people contact us. And in this case, we did get, we have a couple of cases. We have 3 cases that we've worked on, in the last couple of years, and we have 1 voice of customer that they've provided feedback for. And then, right, we can also even then take it to the contact level to see, okay, Eric Wilson, how many cases, what accounts, what VOC, does he have VOC? So I think it was the other contact who had all of that. So, okay, we're getting on there. I'm almost finished, Allie. The only other thing I wanted to show you is Teams, because with Teams, and I know I had asked most of you to tell me like business hours. So when we talk about service levels, you can see the teams, and what we're going to be doing for APAC is, all the team names kind of have the same. It'll be APAC. APAC TIS L1 or L2. So in the case of Japan, it'll be an APAC TIS L2, JP for Japan, an APAC, TIS L1. We have to finalize the naming for like Southeast Asia. And then you can see business hours. And so the business hours per team are the hours that they're working, the holidays that they're off. And the reason we do that is because it impacts their service levels. And so if someone contacts after hours, say at 9 o'clock at night, they were not working hours, and so that will not start counting towards their service level until the next morning when the business day starts again. So the last thing I'm going to show you is some of the dashboards and the reports that I have. This is my dashboard. I have lots and lots of reports. The first one is service level. So you can see where we're tracking, and I had mentioned, like here's the North America L2 team. We're tracking, okay, they're 93% met and 7% missed. And so we just kind of keep an eye on it and, look for, okay, like this team right here, is there something happening? What's going on? Why are you having a hard time hitting your service levels? We can even track it back. So every case that gets closed, every case in the Service Cloud has to be assigned an SBU when it gets closed. And so then we can track by SBU. We can track the number of cases. We can see like the inquiries per team, for example. We can see the inquiries per SBU. I think, if we look at right now, we only have North America and Western Europe in the Service Cloud, but we launched first with North America, then with Western Europe, and the data stayed the same, where ACM, you can see, is about 75% of the inquiries. AMI is another, usually between 12 and 15%. So it's usually, between 85 and 90% of the inquiries are ACM and AMI. But if we look, right, we can see, how many we've had, 291 for APP year to date for North America and Western Europe. And then if I opened all of these, I could see the data. We can also track things by channel. We can, so we have access to all of this data. We can look at we categorize every single case as to what type of support they were asking for. So if we look, we can see that for the most part, part number, product and part number identification, and product suggestion are the big ones. This is typically what our customers are looking for, that and purchase options. So, and we can track it by SBU. We can track it, here we can take an SBU view and say, AME, This is the types of inquiries that you're getting. And then like I've got reports where I'm tracking leads. How many leads do we get per channel? How many leads per category? And it's interesting, you can see here product suggestions. So 90% of our leads are coming from customers that we're looking for a technical support. And here you can see by SBU and then voice of customer. And it's interesting because I mentioned before, we're just starting to look at the voice of customer. And when you look at the level 1, their voice of customer is pretty consistently, it's lower than L2. And when we look at the reasons why, it's because L1 often has to wait on someone to get them an answer. So if the customer's looking for something because they're handling the cases for all SBUs and they're working with the application engineers, then sometimes it takes a little longer to get an answer. So, but again, we're using this data to try to improve. So, okay. That was me showing you what the data is available, the cases and all of that. Now, Allie, do you want to share screen?
Sure.
And show them what it looks like for an agent?
Yeah. So I was thinking I'll kind of just talk through the homepage for a bit. We could start with the phone call, then I'll show creating a lead, and then I can show some of the supervisor reviews too, so you get an idea. So the emails and the web forms, how those come in, and those are assigned to agents. So as an agent in the Service Cloud, this is my homepage. So if I'm logging in first thing in the morning, this is the first thing that I'll see. Any open cases will be shown here. I don't have any right now. I guess I could show you what that looks like, but you would see them here. I won't get too much into tasks. We'll talk about it a little bit as we get the phone call. Tasks can be used as reminders for things, but that's totally up to the agents. So there's no requirements to use that. But if you did want to remind yourself to follow up with a customer at 3 p.m. today, you could create a task for yourself, but it's not a requirement to use them for that purpose. They are used for phone calls, and we'll talk about that. So you see on the bottom here, there's this available with the little phone icon. So this is our phone widget, and you see Genesis Cloud. So it's an integration with the Genesis Pure Cloud system that can be accessed directly in the Service Cloud. And when Audra and I are doing the demo, I will be able to change my status to on queue. So hopefully this looks familiar to anyone that is familiar with the Pure Cloud system.
I think it's just the Japan team that's been working in Pure Cloud. And so it's the exact same system and it's the exact same functionality, the way that you answer the phone and everything. So nothing changes. It makes it very easy if you've been using Genesis call telephony to transition here because you're using the same. It's just a widget within the Service Cloud.
Yep. So this is where the phone calls come in. We'll show you that in just a few minutes. Omni-channel is what we call the assignment of the non-live interactions. So the emails and web forms. Similar to the Genesis Pure Cloud system, you change your status to put yourself on queue. We won't demo this, but I'll show you the supervisor view, and I think it will give you a good idea of how the cases are distributed to any agents that may be on queue and ready to take these cases. Okay, so we'll do the phone demo. So I'm going to put myself on queue.
Does it matter? Do you want me to call?
I'm actually getting a callback request. So what I'm going to do is answer this, and it's a voicemail from a customer. I'm not going to call them back. We won't listen to it right now. I'm not going to call them back right now, but what I can actually do is reschedule this so that.
And so I think I mentioned to you, Kitty and Annaling, right? So in the US, we are only working Eastern Standard Time. And so if anyone calls after 5 p.m. Eastern Standard, then they can leave a callback request. And so then the first people that sign on in the morning, they get this callback request.
Okay. Yeah. Would if someone calling in, would those conversation being recorded or put into a transcript so we get to see them in the system?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there is a big discussion going on with legal right now and data privacy on whether or not we can do that. And the biggest, so they've had to sit down with and work with each regional and country legal team to confirm if recordings are allowed, but they also have to make sure that employees know that they can be recorded. And so one of the things they're working on right now is what they're calling the Employee Transparency Handbook, so that before they will enable recordings and transcripts, they're going to have to let every agent that's working and Hinkle person who's working know that they're going to be recorded. So we used to have that functionality with Genesis, but then when they implemented the Service Cloud, they took it away. So we know it exists, and we're trying to get it back so that we would have, yeah, recordings and transcripts.
Yeah, in Australia, when we make calls like this, you always hear a voice saying this call will be recorded for training purpose.
Yes.
If you don't agree, please let our agent know. So normally
Exactly.
people just ignore it and start talking about what they have to share.
Exactly. And we say that that's exactly the verbiage was this call will be recorded for quality and training purposes.
Yeah.
So should I call Hinkle 4?
Either one.
Okay. Henk. Mr. Takasan pointed something out to me.
Shared my computer sound, so the ringing might be a little bit loud. Is it ringing? Is it not going through, Audra? Can you hear me?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Oh, you know what happened? I'm sorry. I was talking and my phone messed up and went to my headset. I'm so sorry because I kept saying, "Can anybody hear me?" And nobody was. Are you? Which number should I try?
Call 1-800-Loctite. I'm wondering if because we're out of office hours, if it's going to give us trouble.
Oh, We didn't think about that.
No. But I can change the schedule.
Ellie, somebody answered it.
Who?
I'm sorry, guys. 1-800. Maybe change the hours.
Who?
I'm not sure I dialed the right number because it said, welcome something.
You have reached the U.S.
There you go.
Industrial Division. Calls may be recorded for
Quality and training.
For technical information related to adhesive and equipment products, press 1.
Okay. Ah,
Thank you for calling Henkel Industrial.
I'm getting the call back. It's the hours.
Are you sure? No, if it might. Okay. Hold on,
Yeah.
I can change it really quick.
Should I show something else? I hate to waste their time.
No, I could change. I don't know if I can. Let me see. I think these are set. I don't think I can. Here we go. All right, try again.
Which one?
1-800 lactate.
Thank you for calling Henkel. You have reached the U.S. General Industrial Division. Calls may be recorded for quality or training purposes. For technical information related to adhesive and equipment products, press 1. For
I'm still getting music.
Thank you for calling Henkel Industrial Adhesive Technical Support.
It's telling me to do a
An expert
callback.
will be with you shortly.
No, it's not.
Oh, no, it's not.
That's why I was like, it should still.
Please stay on the line after your conversation with the technical support specialist.
I should have let them hear this.
Satisfaction survey.
So it just told me that I might, first it said call. Okay, let's let her answer and then I'll tell you what it said. Okay, so now you can see the call coming in.
So the call comes in. Oh.
Yep.
And then it opens. Sorry. Do you want to mute it on your phone? So the call automatically creates a task. Remember I said before, tasks are here. You can use them a different way, but we use them in this scenario in order to track our phone calls. So you can see in the task, it has who it was assigned to. It has the Genesis customer facing phone number. It has the Audra's cell phone number here on the screen. And then it also has this view interaction link, which will take you directly to Pure Cloud. So I can show you that, but just in the interest of time, I just want to show you. So from this task now, as a TIS agent, I have the ability to create a case. So it's pretty quick. I can just write a case description. So Audra and Ali showing demo of Service Cloud. And I don't need, you can see there's a field for account and contact. I don't need that in order to create the case. So if I'm an agent and I'm trying to work through a phone call really quickly, I can create the case. There's a link to the case here, but it also will show you related to, and then here's the case number that I just created. And now from this case, say the customer is like called and said, hey, I need you to send me a technical data sheet or something. You can work right from this case and all of it stays together. And so, yeah, so this is our process of working from phone calls.
And you can start adding their email and their phone number and creating the contact and, put all of the notes. You can send the email. So now it's just as if it was a case before. And I should have let you listen to the phone call, because what they said at the phone call was, please be aware this call might be, recorded for quality and training purposes, even though we're not recording it yet. And then it also said, there was a prompt that said, we would like to get your feedback after the call. If you would like to give feedback, hold on after the call. And then after the call is over, if I continue to hold, I can give a score by pressing. So that's also phone voice of customer that we can get. The other thing, Allie, she had mentioned the task shows that you can connect right over to Genesis. That's where once we have the recordings and the transcripts, we would be able to see that in the interaction.
And another cool thing about Service Cloud, so you can see it created that task from the phone call. Then when I created the case that's associated to that task, it kind of has these sub tabs. So you don't end up with tons of tabs open in Service Cloud and you have everything associated. You want me to keep going really quick?
Yeah, I'm going to hang up.
Okay. I thought you meant on this call. I was like, no. All right. So, all right. So the next thing I want to show you is how to create a lead from a case. So I won't take this one all the way through to the end, but I'm just going to get you to the point where I would just click the button and it would get sent to ACE. So the first thing that you need to do in order to create a lead is to create a contact and create the account. So I chose this one because it's open. So Kathy is on my team. She's going to see this in the morning when she logs in, and also because it's a web form. So I just want to show you how easy it is to create a contact from the web form. So it pulled in all of this customer information. So this is what the customer entered in their web form. So Yoquin Bello, quality engineer at Teleflex Medical. I click create contact. It automatically populates everything in here. The only thing I have to do is add the country code to the phone number. And then it also pulls all of the account information in as well. So now, and I have to choose an SBU. I'm going to start with ACM. This can be changed later on if Kathy looks at the inquiry and decides maybe it's AMI medical instead, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be ACM. So then I save it. There is already an existing one that actually matches, so it allows you to compare. So this helps keep the system clean with data. So we're not creating multiple duplicate accounts, multiple of the same account. So then I click next. I think I have to be the owner. Sorry. So another thing we wanted to show you is how easy it is to transfer cases. So this is actually good that this came up. So in order for me to create the contact, I have to make myself the owner. And this is how you would transfer cases in the system as well. So when I click change owner, you can see there's a person icon here and it says search users. I can also change that to search queues, and I can find like the Rocky Hill front office customer service.
And so the importance of this, right, is that once if the level 1 or level 2 teams are getting phone calls for customer service, and or emails, you can easily now transfer cases back and forth. And it's much easier. It's just the click of a few buttons.
Exactly. So now that I'm the owner, let's hope this works. Okay, so success. We've related an account and a contact to your case. So please refresh the tab. So now it's going to refresh and you could see like immediately it populated the contact name, it populated the account name, and then up here where it used to say create contact, it says create lead. And so then all I would have to do is just click create lead. I type in a lead title. I type in the description as if I'm sending an email to that inside sales rep. The system pulls the full email chain history over to ACE along with it so that the sales rep that receives it has all of that information. And then I would click next. And then rather than creating a lead and messing with our system, I'm going to show you a case that has a lead created already. So Audra showed you this one, or showed you what these look like. But you could see that Kathy created a lead yesterday here. So you can click here to see the lead record. So this is what it will look like after, and Audra showed you how you can look through the accounts. I did open up some of the accounts in ACE just to show you what it looks like on their end. So I don't know, these are some that Audra was showing you earlier. They all look pretty similar, but you can see there's the re-nurture status. Let me find this is one of our service leads. You can see this one was converted, and this is what it looks like from the ACE side when it's received. The last thing I want to show you really quickly is the supervisor view in Omnichannel. So like I said, Omnichannel is how we assign the emails and web forms, and it's done on a capacity basis. So you can see everyone that I have access to view has a capacity of 10. So one case is worth 2 points. It's a little, I wouldn't get hung up on those details right now, but it's basically like one person can have 5 cases at a time. And if they have more than 5 cases, the system won't automatically send them another one. So you can see Brianna has 5 cases that she'll have to work on first thing in the morning when she gets in. And then, but anyone that has extra capacity, when they log in tomorrow, they will get some automatically assigned to them. And you can see right now there's 9 cases waiting in the TIS queue and 3 cases waiting in the L1 queue. So as agents log on in the morning, those will get assigned throughout the team. Sorry.
And part of the reason why we use this omni-channel is that it's kind of like Salesforce described it to us like you're at the airport. And, if it's one long line and then each agent calls you up, then great. You're in queue and you get the fastest service versus if you go and there's 10 lines and you go pick one line and then that line takes forever. And so that's why we only allow each agent to have a certain number of cases and then the rest sit in queue. And then as soon as an agent is free, boom, it gets assigned. And so that is the fastest way to get the fastest service for the contact that's waiting for the inquiry to be resolved. So there, I think that was everything we wanted to show you. I know we crammed a lot in. We recorded it so that, I know if you want, we can, share it with you. And then if you want some people to view it and look at it that might be thinking about, I think Mr. Takasan, especially in Japan, where it might be done internally, they might definitely want to look at it and get an idea of what it's like to work in the Service Cloud. Kitty, I see your hand is up also.
Yeah. So Altra, so for the 2 agents you were talking about in our earlier email, those 2 people will be looking after just Australia, New Zealand, and also the entire Southeast Asia. Is that right? Excluding Japan, Korea, and China? Or
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Southeast Asia, that covers Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam,
It
Singapore,
does.
Malaysia, Philippines. Right. Okay.
Yes. It does. And if we look at the volumes, I had done that where I was asking you guys to give us volumes. It was kind of where where we ended up with the volumes, right? And that's where you can kind of see Japan, has a high volume, Korea, Australia, like here's the phone volumes. And so a lot of these countries don't have high phone volumes at all. And then online. And so this is why, we can combine these. And, we kind of know about what an agent can cover.
And like just check their capacity. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And so, but each one would be its own queue, and it's right. So like if, Japan, if we set up the 3 agents in Japan, they would be their own queue, and only the Japan emails and web forms and phone calls would go to those queues, the L1 and the L2. And, if we do the same with Korea, and then if we have the 2 agents combined for Australia down to Singapore, I think we decided to set them up as 2 separate queues, Australia and New Zealand versus Southeast Asia, so that you can run reports, and you can still run reports at the country level, but you can assign the agents to be working on both queues. So,
Okay.
and the reason we did that was because we said, if in the future, Australia and New Zealand decides, right, there's enough volume to separate and have a dedicated agent or something. So it's something for us to think about. But
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. See how they go with their capacity for the first year, I guess. Our application engineers team are very keen to know when this is going to happen and how this will happen. So now I have a
Yeah.
better understanding on that. Thank you.
Well, and it's, you can actually show it to them. It's funny because we're going to have a call tomorrow with Allie, and I are going to have a call with Debbie Moore, and she's in charge of global ACM application engineering. So they all are underneath Debbie. And so one of the things we talked about is early on, there was a decision that the application engineers should not work in the Service Cloud. But, we're stepping back and saying, okay, but for some countries where they were handling inquiries, should we let them or should we not? So we're leaving that up to, the ACM application engineering team to make that call. So I can't make that call. Allie can't make that call, but we are kind of escalating and, talking to Debbie and trying to get ideas from her. So.
So the Shanghai team, the SIT team, would they still be operating like how they doing it now on the email inquiry? And I know they also, Irene mentioned they also helping Indonesia on phone inquiries as well.
Yeah, I mean, they're still available and they're there, so we can figure out, what they still need to do. Like if it's too much for the 2 agents in, for Southeast Asia, Willie's team can definitely, they're there, willing to help.
So, but what the plan is, what they are doing now will be transferred to the 2 agents we talked about. So what they're doing for Indonesia, what they're doing for ANZ currently, those workload will be transferred.
To get this all sorted a bit earlier.
Okay.
So do we have Indonesia on the call?
We had, but Irene had to drop off.
Okay. Because it would be interesting to see, to know exactly what Shanghai is doing for Indonesia.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Like, was it just phones or was it also, so maybe Annaling, if we could reach out to the Indonesia team.
Yeah. I can ask.
Yeah, let me know.
I know for the phone calls right now,
handled
by their own facilities
If
team.
worst comes to worst, yeah, I could have to check and see if there's any flexibility, but yeah, our preference would be kind of keeping it.
Here's somebody,
Yeah, at the same time.
Thanks,
It's
Kitty.
already,
Somebody in your
organised.
office.
I should mute myself.
Here's somebody talking. And I see, Mr. Takasan, you have your hand up.
Yes, I have several questions, but I need to check again this video. But simple question is, so how to transfer exhibition participants to the system? This is one of the question, but this is out of today's demonstration, right? And link with today's
You mean like
today's
marketing?
demonstration is who will judge lead or not lead, including the omni-channel growing lead.
Yeah, so how do we determine if it's a lead?
Yes,
So-
how and who?
Yeah, the agent in the case of service, it's the agent who makes that call. But we agreed with marketing that we would use the same criteria that they use. So the criteria that they use is, I think you have to have the personal information, right? The demographic information about the person and their account, and they have to have an application and or product interest. And so if they have an application that's a new application and they're looking for support, then it's a lead. You know, they have an application and we need to send it to the sales rep to sales. If they have a product interest, and they're interested in buying a product or getting more information about a product also for an application, then yes, we also consider that a lead.
I see. So everyone also can judge.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, here.
Yes.
I see.
Yeah, our L1 agents don't have as many leads as the L2 technical support. But they do have leads, right? They have submitted leads and they've also closed and converted opportunities. The sales reps have from L1.
Okay, I see. And for the receiving phone, we entry only 3 person for L1 and L2 registered for this service. And even these 3 people cannot receive the call. Is it possible to transfer to the next person who is not registered to this system?
No, you have to be a registered user in the Service Cloud, and you have to, and then you know how Ali showed in the bottom corner that she was online?
Yeah.
You have to be online.
I see.
Also. And so, you can set it up as a backup. So you could set it up so that level 2 can back up level 1 and level 1 can back up level 2 so that they're all 3 backing up each other. But if you want another person to be set up, then we would need to set them up as another user.
I see. Okay. Understood. In case 3 people cannot receive the call at the time, what happened?
We can set it up so that there's a callback request.
Okay.
And that's what happened with Ali, where the caller gets a voice recording that says, "I'm sorry, all of our agents are busy. If you would like to leave a callback request, please do that now." And I think all they have to do is like press 1 or something, right, for the callback. And then it automatically then creates a task so that the next time, someone tries to make a phone call or accept a phone call, it's a task for another agent. And we can actually track the service levels of those callback requests. So we can see, what time the callback request came in, when did we return the call, all of that. We can see all of the data for the callback requests.
I see. And when we receive the call from customer, and who will judge close or still not close? Will it be L1 job?
If the case is closed?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's whoever the agent is that is working on that case.
I see.
So if it's the L1, a lot of the times with the L1 team, they might not have the answer. And so they can put the case in answer pending mode.
Yeah.
And while they're sending some emails and getting the answers, and then typically they shouldn't close the case until they know they've given the answer to the customer.
Yeah.
Or someone has given the answer. In some cases, it might be that the application engineer for AMI says, I will contact the customer. And so in that case, the L1 typically sends an email and records it in the case and says, I've passed your information on to the appropriate technical expert from the business, and they're going to reach out to you. And then the L1 agent can close the case. And
I
if
see.
the customer emails back, then it will automatically open the case again. So sometimes that happens where the customer emails back 2 days later and says, nobody ever called me.
Mm. I see. Understood. So L1 agent, as much as possible, one need to check their email address. Is it correct?
So they don't need to look at the emails again. The emails will automatically be in the cases. They will work in the case. So they will log into the Service Cloud, and like Ali showed you, it'll say open cases. And they will be able to do and see everything in the Service Cloud. They don't have to go to the email boxes.
So I'm confusing. Even if the stranger called to the first contact person called to us at the time, L1 agent need to check their email address as much as possible, right?
No, they're not going to know that a call came in. They won't get an email saying that a call came in. They would have to log into the Service Cloud to see it.
Okay.
So they would log into the Service Cloud and they would see, like Ali, maybe if you show the
Yeah.
home screen, and they would see if there are tasks for them.
Mm.
And so if someone called in for the first time and left a callback request and wanted L1 to call back, then on today's tasks, they would see, is that where it would show up, Ali?
No, so the callback requests wait in a queue, and then so right now, if there was like when I first went on queue on the phones, there was a callback request waiting, so I automatically got it because I was the first person. And then because I wasn't going to handle it right now, I rescheduled it so that it will go to someone at 8:15 tomorrow morning.
So the only way that they would know that a call had come in was to log into the Service Cloud and to open the widget and see if there were callback request tasks for them. Did that make sense?
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so I think like Mr. Takasan, I think it would be like someone from the marketing team.
Thank you
So
very much.
yeah, it might be that they would need to log in like a couple of times a day. So, okay. Okay, so hopefully this gave you a good idea of what it looks like and what it's like to work in the Service Cloud, the data that's available. Eventually, this would all be available in, right? I think you've seen some of the dashboards. Right now, the inquiries data is not available in one of the dashboards. So I've been creating some reports and then sending them out to the businesses so that they know how many inquiries, how many channels, which channels they came from. And the service leads are in the dashboards, but eventually all of the Salesforce data will be in the dashboards as well. So, okay. I think that's it for now.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank
Hope you answered some questions.
Thank you.
And Aline, I will probably reach out to you so that we can maybe wrap up a few little things.
Sure.
So, okay. Not tonight,
Thank
though. I'm going to go to bed tonight.
I was gonna say, I think it's a bit late for you.
Thank you, Allie, for your help.
Thank you all.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Stop recording.